Yeah, that's pretty much. All right. So, like I said, record this for them. So, not saying anything mean about. So first thing I just want to do obviously a super mini staff meeting.
Yes.
But for here too. So for steaks, I haven't really seen anyone do it lately, but don't do the medium rare, or medium well, like southeast. Don't just choose one. If somebody's like, can I have it between medium and medium rare? Just go for the lower one because you can always cook it more.
Mm.
So just write medium rare. If somebody was like, oh, can I get a well, like between medium well and well? Just write medium well. Or so everyone's got a little different perception of what that cooking is. If we cook it on the lower side, it's 9 times out of 10 probably going to be fine. We can always cook it more. That's just because we don't really see it too easily, and it's kind of written a little bit differently, and then that shows up on the check too. So we'll just use. And then the other thing too is there's multiple. I think you guys know there's multiple temperatures. So if you do 2 steaks, and you want to do both medium. Instead of just writing the one medium at the top, or like that first little bars, you can go down that whole list of like food modifiers. There's like 3 more mediums and more medium wells, so you can hit medium again. That way, when your 2 steaks print out, it says medium and medium. Because I'm always inclined to be like, do you want both of them medium? The answer is usually yes. But that would just make it so there's no question about it. And when you have like 3 steaks too, it just says medium. Kind of like, ooh, did they forget it? Or kitchen's good about reminding me too. I've had a couple problems at lunch where I'll put in a soup in seat 2 and seat 3 and hit send, and then did you mean to do 2? Yeah, sorry. Make sure you do 2. I really wish that thing would be at the top so you could do 2 first, your quantity, and then do modifiers. I'm guilty of that, so just keep an eye on that. The kitchen does keep an eye too, but you'll get 1 soup and you're like, I need 2. So it's not like we're gonna miss charging people for it, but that way you get your food.
On a busy night, they're not going to ask you.
Back things up.
No, but you'll just get the 1 soup and the shit.
Yeah.
So you just kind of like check that out. Again, not really a problem too. So I want to bring it up if someone's asking for tastes of soup. Eddie, can you just hit that? I don't know if it's still going to record. So, I'm sure it won't be a screensaver. With tastes of soup, I've had somebody like, can I get like a little taste of it, like an espresso cup taste of soup, or for that matter, ice cream? Like, no, you just get the small, it's a shallow bowl of soup, or you just get that scoop of ice cream. Something like that. We're not like Rita's, where you're like, here's a bunch of tasting spoons. You kind of just go for it. We don't offer tastes. What we do offer tastes of is wine. So if somebody wants something they're not really sure between a couple glasses of white, either the bar can get you like, oh, can I just have a little taste of that Albarino for somebody? You can bring that over. If you're confident pouring, I really don't have a problem people pouring at tableside. The level's going to be not perfect, right? We have our little level thing at the sidebar. If you bring someone Albarino, it's better to show them the bottle. They can look at it. They can get a taste. Oh, that's really great. I'm comfortable with servers or bartenders or anyone pouring at tableside. Just watch your thing. You don't want to pour too much. Maybe practice one at the beginning of the night. I know that helps me. I'll put a glass down, pour one, look at it, and really keep in mind what that height is. That way I can pour it for people at the bar and not be like, well, I just hope to pour the shit out of that.
I literally do that before I start. I put red wine glass and white wine glass next to the level.
Yep.
Just like look at it. It's like, all right.
Yeah, and you just, exactly.
Like
so,
dial in.
So that, and you can even pour water in if you want, but it's just, it's just a good first move I like to do, and then that way tableside. Many times I've poured it at the bar and been like, oops, that's a little too much. Because you'd rather give them too much than too little. Be like, oh, this isn't enough. So there's that. So only tasting really is the wine. Again, beer you can't taste because when Super Open did, that's the single serve beer. And liquor tasting. I mean, I've had people at the bar like, what is chartreuse? Sure, I'll pour it and sniff it. They can smell it. Of course, it's going to be different. But can you like taste the vodka before you? Nah, you're just going to order the drink.
What's our call on port?
What do you mean?
Do we taste people on port? I feel like that's not a thing.
I don't think that'd be. I mean,
I think wine.
If same thing. So say if you're this person and they're not sure, do I want the tawny or the ruby, and they're talking about it and they're interested and they kind of seem like a cool customer and they spent some money, you're going to give them a little more care in your service, right? Than somebody who's just like, can I taste them all? And I'm not going to order any of them. Somebody wants to taste the difference between the two. I mean, it's a small glass. You could. I've definitely done it at the bar before.
I would reserve that only for at the bar.
Yeah, I mean that kind of
Don't
stuff.
do that at tables.
The laid out, here's 3 different glasses. That's gonna be the bar. At a table, by the time you're taking 2 glasses over the table and 2 bottles of wine, it's already gotten a little convoluted for you. And you're like, then which one is the glass they tasted? And then the husband tasted it. And oh, it's actually not. It's the different. Oh, which glass was it?
Yeah, I agree.
It gets a little,
So,
hectic. But,
no at tables. Bar does.
I think bar you kind of do whatever you want within reason.
Right. Again, bar's not going to taste your vodka.
Yeah. No shots.
Right. You really just get the drink.
Yeah, half shot.
So that's that. And then Jared had a kind of a question like where food comes from before. You know, we have that little list down there. Again, ask me, ask Chef. Chef knows pretty well because he looks at the invoices every week, so he's going to know Atlantic salmon. He's going to know the prawns are from Portugal, that kind of stuff. It's good to know that a little bit ahead so you can give that quick, confident answer. But as far as meat, most of it is from the Midwest. So a lot of the beef, it's like Angus beef, it's choice level. It's from the Midwest. Do we know exactly what farmers? No. Could you find out? Sure. We'd have to ask our purveyors. The fish comes from all over the world. Again, you kind of just have to ask. I think the Arctic char is farmed, right?
It is. It's from Iceland.
Iceland, Arctic char. You know, farmed fish. I always make the joke like, "Oh, our beef is wild." Like people, what? Because you'd rather have farm-raised chicken and farm-raised beef, but there's some reason a stigma against farm-raised fish. Like, oh, I wanted wild. It's like the opposite. So
They don't know what they're talking
Chasing
about.
cows
No.
are wild.
right, exactly. Yeah, these are wild cows, like machine gun versus farmed fish. So it's, I mean, it's an uncontrolled environment. It's probably safer for most. I mean, not tilapia. Tilapia is like gross fish, but anyway. So that's just the thing. If you have any questions with that, it's good to know up front. But just ask me, ask Chef. That's pretty much it for the staff meeting. For the wines, just want to recap. Last time we did a Sauvignon Blanc, a Chardonnay, and a
Gewürztraminer.
Gewürztraminer. Thank you, very good. So Gewürztraminer, we only have one Gewürztraminer. It's that German from the Pfalz region. So nothing else is quite like that. Sauvignon Blancs. What are some other Sauvignon Blancs we have?
Sancerre.
White Bordeaux, Sancerre.
The Touraine was the one that we used.
Tourain's the one we had, yeah.
People's
Puy
Superfoods.
Fusé is Chardonnay.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
The other one, though,
You got it.
Petit Chablis. No, that's
not Chardonnay. It's
You
my
have
next
the right
question.
start. Puy.
Puy,
Fusi.
other one.
Puy.
Smoky. Puy Fumé. So there's a Puy Fumé on the menu. That is Sauvignon Blanc.
People's pretty like.
I'm doing
It's
myself off with
yes,
plus
right.
pussy.
But yeah, no, you just want to say it.
Yeah, exactly. So again, that's the Puy Fumé, Touraine, the Sancerre, the White Bordeaux. I think that's all of our Sauvignon Blancs at the moment. The Chardonnays we have then. So we have that Puy Fusé, which is a Chardonnay. What else we got?
Petit
Really good.
Chablis.
Petit Chablis is a Chardonnay.
We have the Trentino.
Trentino is a Chardonnay from Italy. One, just
Montrachet.
couple. We have those two by the glass.
Dry Sonoma
Yeah.
and the Macron Village.
Yeah, also Chardonnay. We've also got the Pullini Montrachet, that $170 bottle, Chardonnay as well too.
The Pullini?
The Pullini Montrachet, yeah, that's Chardonnay. So it's from
Gotcha.
Burgundy. Anything from Burgundy is going to be Chardonnay. Champagne, which we're going to talk about today too, also has Chardonnay in it. So a little segue,
Nice.
just kind of very convenient.
Nice.
I'm actually going to steal yours if you don't mind sharing the share of it. Anyway, so we've got sparkling wine. So for all intents and purposes, our menu has 4 different sparklings by the glass. One of them's a champagne, one of them's from Spain, one of them's from France, it's not a champagne, and one of them is from Italy, right? So somebody wants some sparkling, you can say, oh, we have all these different countries wines, right? Or if someone says, I want specifically champagne, there's only one champagne on there. By the glass, it's a bottle, it's that split bottle, that's the true champagne, right? So that's from Champagne region, anything else can't be called champagne. Some things in California are, they're with little c instead of a capitalized C, it's kind of stupid, they shouldn't really be allowed to call it champagne, but they do. Champagne is from Champagne, end of the discussion. From Italy then we have our Prosecco, from Spain we have our Cava, and then that other French one is a Burgundy Rosé, and that is a sparkling, it's a Rosé. Everything on the bottles on the list is all champagne, it's all from France. Veuve Clicquot, Moet Chandon, that Paul Galer, that Tondil Lombardy, I think that's all of them. Those are champagne. So if you want champagne, you got some pretty cool bottles to choose from, a couple half bottles to choose from, and then that split bottle, that's champagne. You just talk with people. I've done it once where someone's like, can I get champagne? I'm like, here you go. I mean,
Do you already sell it though when somebody asks for champagne? They do just mean sparkling in general. You can say,
Exactly.
This is the champagne, and then you can kind of almost shape it.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean that's certainly part of it.
Very
It's-
true. No,
Your
that's
knowledge
true.
is going to be like, you know, I want to be cool too, so I'll order the champagne.
Mm-hmm.
And they end up loving it, so it all
Exactly.
kind of works out.
It's super delicious.
Mhm.
It's hard to find a bad champagne unless something has happened to the champagne. There's a reason why everyone loves it. It's associated with wealth and deliciousness and caviar and all that good stuff. The other regions, there's some other sparklings too. You can see on that second slide. Metodo Classico, that's the classic method, which we'll get into. Same way that champagne's made. It's from Italy. You've seen cremants from France, like Cremant de Die, Cremant d'Alsace. So when you see a cremant, creaminess, bubbly, you can think it's a sparkling wine. Traditional method then from the United States, same idea as champagne. Spain, Cava, we just said. Cape Classic from South Africa is their champagne method, or their name for their sparklings down there, champagne method. Espumante from Portugal. Espumante sounds sparkling, right? It's like a kind of word. That's what that means if you see that from Portugal. And then Sekt from Germany and Austria. A lot of Sekts are sweet. A lot of them are delicious and Prosecco-y kind of. Really crisp, nice little bubbles to that. So there's some really good German sparkling out there too. So I mentioned those methods. That's that third slide there. Classic method, method champenoise. If you see traditional method or method champenoise, you know that it's going through the full process of base wine, fermenting in that bottle, taking out the little bit of yeast that forms in the bottle, re-fermenting it. It all happens in that bottle, more or less. I mean, you make a base wine in a vat that you ferment into, and then everything in the bottle happens in that bottle. Traditional way, you get a lot of cool flavors that way, aging on the lees, aging on that yeast that kind of cakes at the bottom of the bottle, gives it some breadiness, gives it some different character. Really painstaking work. I mean, it's a really long process. It's blended very specifically to match a house flavor, what they're going for. So the product's it's really artisanal, and you pay a little bit more for it. A different one is the transfer method. That's used when we'll talk about bottle sizes. That means, would you ferment, when we go into the champagne thing, you have to do this thing where you turn the bottle upside down, freeze the top of it, you take out the yeast plug, you have the bottle, you recap it. Would you do that with a huge bottle that fits like 24 bottles? The machine wouldn't be able to hold it, right? So they still want to make it their traditional Veuve Clicquot, but in like a big ass, like I just won the Grand Prix kind of bottle. They're not going to use that in the machine. So what they actually do is then they take it back out to a tank and they transfer it back in. So it's still 99% of the way the exact same method of method champenoise, but you're going to transfer it back to these big bottles because it's just unfeasible to put it back in the machinery. So that's basically all the transfer method means. Charmat method, that fourth one down, is tank. So that's the way Prosecco is made. It's made in a big vat. The Prosecco is, it's fermented that way. It's then aged on the lees that way. If there's any lees contact, it's filtered or racked over. And then from that tank, they fill the bottles and it's ready to go. So it's like they're basically skipping a step. I'll show you those, like a little flow chart. Actually, it's right underneath of this. That little flow chart there. That fourth one down, tank method. See how it skips those couple steps? It's skipping that riddling, which is moving the bottles a little bit to get the yeast to the top. It's skipping the dégorgement. It's skipping that kind of stuff, going right back to then just filling the bottles and corking them. So it just takes it a couple of steps. You get a different character of bubbles. You're going to get maybe a different character in the nose because it's not aging on those lees in the bottle for a long time. Finally, then, just like most of beers are made, forced carbonated. You make a base wine, maybe you pasteurize it, you filter it, make it super sparkling and clean like this, put it in bottles, and then hit it with some CO2. A ton of stuff is made. They got that stuff that's on the bottom shelf in the wine and spirit store. Almost all of that's forced carbonated. So that's just another way of making it, right? Where the yeast is doing the work, and in the traditional methods, you're using just pure CO2. Usually when you drink those, they're like mouthful of bubbles, because it's like seltzer water almost. But there's some good wines like that too. You can't really knock them for making something. So classic method, I mentioned there's a base wine. So you're making wine from 3 different grapes in Champagne, which are Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier. Basically think it's a third of each in the region, and they're all blended different ways. Some of them are 100% Chardonnay, some of them are 100% Pinot Meunier, Pinot Noir, same thing. In different regions, you can use different grapes, right? Cava's like Penedès and Xarello, and a couple of different other grapes, sometimes Chardonnay. German Sekt is going to use Sometimes Gewürztraminer, but usually like the Merlot Thurgau or some Chardonnay or something like that. So everyone's got their different grapes, but you're making a base wine. You're making a white wine or a rosé wine. In some cases, too, a red wine. But you make
Really?
that. Yeah, there's like a sparkling red from Italy called Lambrusco, and it's like a deep red wine, sweet, carbonated, just like.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff.
Yeah,
It's kind of like
sounds
soda a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Creep soda.
What's it called one more time?
It's called Lambrusco.
Lambrusco.
Yeah. It's good if you're like eating Chinese food and you want something sweet and bubbly like soda. It's good with that. But it's, it's from a region in the middle of Italy that's good with the food too, so people eat it with like Genoa salami and they say it's a good pairing.
Wow.
Balsamic from Modena is in that area. There's like, if you're eating with the Parmigiano Reggiano with balsamic and they think the Lambrusco is a regional pairing, why not? So anyway, you make that base wine. The cuvee, then you see cuvee on all sorts of bottles. Like, what is that? Like a cave? No, that means blending. So if it's Jared's cuvee or something like that, you know it's Jared's blend. Cuvee de la maison or de la maison, it's just like the house blend. They're blending. That's really pretty much the only area in the entire world where blending is legal and encouraged. Different years, different vats of wine. After the fermentation, they're gonna like maybe blend. Oh, let's put 90% of that Chardonnay and then 10% of that one that had all Pinot Noir, and then we'll blend it from last year and the year before. That's why you see non-vintage a lot on Champagne too. It doesn't have a vintage because it's not from 1 year. A lot of the time non-vintage is 3 years or older, kind of has to be, but I mean you could make, that's not true. You could make it from the 1 year, but usually non-vintage is a mix of 3 different years. 2014s, 2015s, 2016s, and we came out with it this year, right? When you see vintage champagne, that is all from that vintage. So if it's a 2002 champagne, that is the harvest year is 2002, and it's all from then. But they're still blending as far as like whatever grapes and stuff like that to get their house flavor. But that's kind of what makes the vintage champagne special. Is maybe that year was really great, the champagne really shines. Maybe that year was kind of hot and everything got too ripe. Maybe it's like it's kind of flabby, as they call it. So vintage, just like in regular wine, it matters in champagne. Also, too, that it's going to have some age on it if it's vintage. Bubbles. So there's a secondary fermentation that happens in the bottle I mentioned. So we talked last week. You put the grapes all in a vat. The grapes start to bubble. You strain it out. That's your fermentation there. And then you age it. It continues to ferment a little bit. The second fermentation that happens in champagne is then you put that wine in the bottle with something called a liqueur de tirage, which is basically a little sugar water. Could be some of the grape must and sugar. It's like a different method. Usually it's literally just sugar water. You put that in the bottle, fermentation happens again a little bit. That's what's carbonating and also sweetening the final product. If you put like a big old heap of sugar with water in there, maybe it's something that's on like the demi-sec or doux spectrum of sweetness, because there's going to be a lot of unfermented sugar still in there. Or if you put just a tiny little bit of sugar in some water, it might be really brut or brut nature, extra brut, really dry, because there's not going to be a lot of sugar left in there that's unfermented, but it's still going to push that carbonation out a little bit. So the method champenoise, you get really nice fine bubbles because that fermentation happened in the bottle. Maybe it got really strong, maybe it relaxed a little bit, it kind of mellowed out in the bottle. Sometimes there's a little air circulation like that cork in there, so the bubbles can be nice and fine a lot of times, whereas something like forced carbonation, it's a certain amount of CO2 they want, it's going to be a little harder usually, kind of in the way that like a Dr. Pepper has a real bite, to the carbonation, and then you have that transfer method. Usually it's pretty bright bubbles in that as well too. So there's usually no second fermentation in those bottles. That's just that ancestral or that traditional method, right? Surly, I said, that's aging on a yeast cake. When you ferment things, yeast tends to fall to the bottom, just like ales. The yeast falls to the bottom, and so what they do is they like to age it on that. It gives it like a bread character, kind of like a biscuity note. I really love that in wine, and especially in champagne. But something like Muscadet has these contacts. Sometimes you can get some bread character to that too, a yeasty character, if you will. In that picture underneath there, that's what I said when I said riddling. They put them in these big A-frames, and you put all the bottles kind of at a 45-degree angle. And so instead of the yeast cake falling to the bottom while it's fermenting, it's falling in that little lid of the bottle, right? They turn it like 90 degrees, like every week or whatever, and the yeast cake moves and then moves until the bottles are basically, they've taken the A-frames out a little bit, bottles are almost upright, and the top of that bottle's full with yeast.
Clever.
So then what they want to do is they want to have a nice, sparkling, clear, crisp wine. They take those bottles, they put them usually in like a machine that takes them through a really, really cold brine, like super cold. Salt makes the freezing temperature low. So you're talking like, I don't know, maybe 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Running the bottles through that, it freezes. They turn them up and then they go pop. The top, like a beer cap, is on there. It comes out with a yeast plug, and then you have this beautifully fermented wine with no yeast in it. That's when they put in the bottom there, the dosage, a liquor de tirage, liquor d'expedition. Put a little bit of sugar in there, cap it, that thing starts fermenting. It's nice and clear. Maybe there's a tiny little bit of yeast at the bottom because that fermentation happened again, but generally it's really nice and clear. If you have like a real funky bottle of, not funky, a really nice bottle of champagne, it's got like a little funk in the bottom, maybe you don't pour it all the way because that last bit might be a little.
So is that cap like specifically designed to like make the yeast adhere to it?
I think it's honestly it's like a beer cap, but usually they have like a little plastic in there
Some,
too.
like, tongue on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it is frozen solid, and there's force in the bottle.
True.
So if you
Yeah.
didn't,
Yeah.
I mean, it's still gonna come out
Yeah,
like
that makes sense.
because there's a little air there, right? So that's gonna be like almost like a cork popping out.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I think it has a little plastic.
Mhm.
I'm sure everyone has a little something different.
Mhm.
So then they're gonna cork it, with a nice big old plugged cork, and that is your champagne. You're gonna let it sit for maybe a year, and then you'll release it. That's the champagne method. Like I said, they're not doing that special dosage, and they're not doing that special. They're not taking all that kind of care as they did with the tank method. Anyway, let me zip through these real quick. This thing you can look at later. There you see. I didn't put Lambrusco, that's okay. So this is all classic methods. So if you want a wine that's just like champagne, but you can't afford it, there are so many good other ones. I love Franciacorta from Italy, that one on the top right there. That's one of my favorites. It's totally bready, totally delicious. Cava we have here, that's traditional method. So all those are going through that exact same process we just said. Underneath that, Charmat method, you're going to find things like Prosecco, Moscato d'Asti, German Sec. A lot of those are the tank method. Again, usually delicious wines, delicious sparkling wines, just different characters to them. So I'll just read through that later. You can see all those cremants, just so you kind of get an idea. The transfer method, so those are the big bottles there. That first one is a half bottle. Like we have the Veuve half bottle. That last one's a Nebuchadnezzar. Actually, that first one's a split. The second one's a half bottle. The third one is your normal bottle size. And then after that, the acronym I like to remember is Michael Jackson blessed small boys nightly. So you get Magnum,
Not okay.
Jeroboam, Methuselah, Salmanzar, Balthazar, Nebuchadnezzar. Right.
The smallest one, like the one that we have, it is a split. It's called a split, right?
Mhm.
Everyone tries okay.
Yeah.
Everyone tries to correct it.
No,
Yeah.
it's even
It's
in
like
the
it's a
crossword
pop.
puzzle.
Well, I mean, it
I don't know what
pops
the
when you open it.
I don't know.
Well,
what
there's a
it is.
brand
I never
called
heard that.
Pop, so maybe that's like a thing.
Okay. All right.
I don't know that.
Kind of like Google's a brand, but it's still a search engine.
Everyone keeps saying half bottles are.
Half bottles, I have a bottle.
That's
And I've had an argument with the wine rep about that before too. He's like, we call it halves. I was like, no, then what do you call the other ones? Like, yeah, you fucking
Yeah.
because it's a split and then it's a half bottle. Anyway, half is a half of a bottle. 750 divided by 2 is 375.
Mhm.
That's your half bottle. So you don't really see 500 milliliter bottles.
Although at once.
Method ancestral, bottom there. Basically, it's all happened in the bottle. They're not going to take out that yeast plug. They let it sit in the bottle. Real rustico. I haven't had one actually ever,
Yeah,
but usually not very sweet. Next page there, champagne bottle terminology. This is a good thing to notice. So extra dry doesn't really mean dry. Extra dry is one little point, 5 grams less sugar than sec, meaning dry, which really doesn't mean that it's dry. It's kind of confusing a little bit. Just know that brut means dry. If you see brut on a champagne, it is dry. There's a little bit of difference. Brut is what all of ours are. Extra brut's a little less dry. Sorry, a little more dry. Brut nature, brut zero, very, very dry. So those are your 3. If you see the brut on a label, you know it's going to be nice and dry. If you see sec or variation like demi-sec, it doesn't really mean dry. It kind of means like sweet. Half dry means like it's the other half is half sweet, right? So it's like a little confusing. Just know if it says sec or demi-sec, there's going to be a sweetness to it. It's the French word for sweet. If you see that on a bottle, it's going to be a Moscato level sweetness. Like I said, there's going to be some unfermented sugars that stay in the bottle. That's what makes that sweetness. There's some terminology here. It's just cool to like see on champagnes if they have any of these. I'm always looking for the RM or RC. RM means there's a guy owns a vineyard, owns a winery. He's making the wine, making all the champagne he releases, or she. Sorry. That's really cool because they have control over the entire process. It makes that more special in my eyes, usually in the eyes of the market that prices it accordingly. Récoltant Coopérative is usually a cooperative, usually a group of farmers that all come together. They all have grapes, and they blend it, and they have their one. Gary's Place has the fermentation vats and the bottling line, and they all bring their grapes there. But it's like a little community. So again, really small scale, really great. Kind of everything in between there, going down to the bottom. Marc d'Acheteur, which is like a supermarket brand, like a Wegmans Sparkling or something like that, or a Carrefour in France. They have their own. Societe. I mean, you can read through these. I don't want to go through all of them, but basically it's the level of care and who takes care of each step. If it's outsourced, such and such. Most of our wines here are not Récoltant and Blanc. Most of them are from a distributor or from a brand that owns, like Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy owns a ton of champagnes. That's like the parent company. They get their grapes from all over area in maybe Rheims or maybe in Loeb or something like that. And they make their wines at a special house, and it's a beautiful chateau looking kind of castle, and that's where they make the wines. Totally delicious as well too. People pay a lot for those. Just a different level of artisanal, sort of farmhousey idea. That next page, champagne bottle terminology again. Like I said, non-vintage means it's blended. I mean, that is most of the market. You usually don't see vintage years on champagnes because they're all not vintage, they're all blended. If there is a vintage, a bottle must be at least aged, just the bottle itself, for 3 years before release. Blanc de Blanc, white of white, meaning it's the white of the white grapes, so white of the Chardonnay grapes. Blanc de Noir is the white of the black, so the Pinot Noir black grapes, but they just press them and get that nice white juice. Of course, you can make a rosé, Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier, but you'll see Blanc de Noir and Blanc de Blanc on a lot of bottles. Rosé, obviously, is a sparkling rosé. And Tête de Cuvée or Prestige Cuvée is like the Cristal, right? You see all those fancy bottles. Dom Perignon, Dom Ruinart, which we're going to drink in a couple of minutes. You'll see those are the expensive ones. That's what all the rappers are like spraying on the boat.
Yeah.
It's usually the Tête de Cuvée.
And on the bitches.
Yeah, exactly. And you get upset and you're like, no, put on those bitches up on the drink. Like you got a little cup.
Yeah.
Great on their ass.
Yeah.
What kind of method is that? Method de derriere?
Coconut bongo, like suntan lotion, like those. Anyway, so there's some. I like to read these. I like to kind of know what some of the Tête de Cuvées are when you recognize them. Like, oh, that's actually the same wine. Like Mum, like, oh, Grand Cordon or Cordon Rouge. Like, oh, I know what that is. We have the Mum in California and yada yada. So it's just something to take a look at on your own time. Finally, that next page, champagne bottle sizes, which I mentioned, that fun acronym. There's more PC ones than that, but I like that one a lot. The picture underneath that is like my favorite thing of all the, in like champagne art. You have the one in the refrigerator, your bottle, or essential fridge ingredient, and then they've got all the other ones and like funny little cartoons. I want to get that like printed and put in my house.
That is cool.
It's
I like the
As
guy
long
with the
as it's not
Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah. Oh, as long as it's not corked.
It's terrible.
Grandma's 8 bottles. Anyway, so that's your bottle sizes.
How do they uncork the really big bottles?
Well, they're saying as long as it's not corked, like
Gone bad.
like gone bad. Because you bought an $8,000 bottle.
Christ, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you just get another guy to hold the top. I mean, the cork is like, it's almost the same size as a normal cork because the top goes up like that, so big. So it's not crazy. It is a little bit bigger. I've never opened up a but
We can take down like a 747 though.
I mean, there's not a ton of airspace, but I mean, if there was like, that's like a bottle size of airspace, maybe. I mean, I could.
Do you have to order some of these larger bottles from, I guess, their websites, or how do you go about?
I mean, you can get magnums pretty easily. You can get Yarrow bombs.
I'm gonna go
I don't know. I think if you went to the winery and they had one, they'd be like, "Well, it's just for show." I'm sure. I mean, Veuve Clicquot's making them. You probably can't get them here.
Where the hell are you chilling?
Yeah, exactly. The whole fridge.
Yeah.
Good
Anyway,
point.
so-
Jeez.
So that's champagne in a nutshell.
Oh,
So you're always looking for those wines that are made method traditional. Anyway, let's try these. I have 2 of them here. We're going to compare them like we've been doing. They are both sparkling.
Uh-oh.
It should still be going.
Alright.
So pick up number 1, give that a smell, see what you think of that.
Monkey farts too.
Again, let's take a look. Oops. Let's take a look at what the color difference is between both of them. We want to definitely concentrate on the appearance of the wine.
Mm-hmm.
they are different colors.
Very.
Different colors, yeah. So 1 and 2 are different colors.
It's much lighter, clearer.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's got some oak on the first one. Maybe it's just a different grape. Maybe they're different countries completely. So it's just something to think about. You can give them a little swirl. Obviously, there is evidence of gas in these when you give them a little twirl, and that's something we're looking for as a problem in still wine, but in sparkling wines, we're very happy about that. You can see the alcohol levels, a little bit of tearing on like the top rim of it, maybe. But these aren't boozy, right? These aren't like those big red wines we had the other day. So there's some alcohol, not crazy, but there's not nothing. It's not sheeting down either, really. Maybe the first one a little bit more so than the second. What about anything else appearance-wise of note?
Number 1 seems much more gassy than the second one.
Okay, yeah, so there's a little gas. I mean, I did pour these before you guys came up. I tried to wait until the last possible minute. Maybe when you first poured them. They were both pretty bubbly, but yeah, I see some more bubble on number 1. That's pretty much it. The color I think is the biggest thing there. Yeah, definitely a different. Number 2's almost got like a greenish to me. Just real slightly. So let's nose them. Let's see what number 1 smells like. Same thing we were doing last week. So give me some fruits or some non-fruits.
Little pear.
Pear. Nice. I agree with that. Elaborate on that at all? Maybe like Tim McCann style poached pear? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little pie-y.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say liking poached pears.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. It's got like a little
Yeah. Juicy.
Yeah, definitely.
juicy. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Do we smell any oak? Would there be some? Usually sparkling something.
Could be a wee bit.
Could be a wee bit.
Could be a wee bit.
Has a little bit of honey going
Okay,
on.
okay.
And
It's
you
got a lot of honey going on now that you said it.
Yeah.
Like a little.
We talked about that Lee's aging. Do you guys pick up any of that perhaps on us on number 1? These are going to be biscuits. These are going to be biscuits. A yeasty, like a yeast cake smell. Sourdough, maybe kind of like that.
Maybe a little bit, because it to me doesn't smell like sweet or overpoweringly fruity. It might have a little bit of that.
And then you
Yeah,
said,
like sourdough kind
I think there's could be a little bit there. What about non-fruit? You were saying you smelled like a sweetness. It's hard to smell sweet.
Mm-hmm.
of. Yeah, not too much sweet.
Do you smell anything like you said wood? Do you smell any
You get a little
mineral? Do you smell any?
I get like a little seashell, like something like that.
I like that.
Something like that. I don't know. Whetstone is like something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
The mineralness.
A lot of acid, which I guess just makes me think lemon juice.
Yeah, I mean, there's I think acid's more on the palate, but sometimes you take a big whiff and your mouth waters. You get a little of that in there.
Mine does with all wine.
All right. So, I think those are all fantastic calls for number 1 as far as the nose. Nothing I'd really add to that. I like pears. A lot of poached pears definitely in there. A little vanilla too. Number 2, give that a smell.
Much sweeter.
Okay. Again, you're not going to smell sweetness necessarily. There can be a sweet wine and a dry wine, and the dry wine can be more sweet
I
smelling.
think you can definitely smell sweet on the nose.
You can smell ripeness. Sweet is it's on the palate.
I can't even smell.
You don't let that fool you, because there will be sometimes a lot of ripeness, and you drink it and it's tannic and
Okay.
feel dry.
Mhm.
But so, fruits. We'll do the white ones. We got melon tree, tropical citrus,
Yeah.
and stone. What do you guys get in this one?
Tropics.
Tropics.
And honey and honeysuckle and floral.
Honeydew.
Yeah, right.
That's what I was thinking.
Right.
I do.
The little melon. I don't know.
Melon's tropical fruits.
Well, melon, I'm putting it in its own category.
That's its
I'm
own?
saying there's 5, yeah.
Okay.
Melon, tropical, tree, stone,
Okay.
and citrus.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Maybe,
Let's go with melon.
I like melon. I don't really get tropical. I don't really get any mango. I don't really get too much like lime. I mean, maybe a little bit, like a candy lime. But any non-fruit too? I mean, you
It's
guys.
like a little flower, like white flower or something like
A
that.
flower like that. Give me a white flower.
I don't know what the fuck. Let's say like what the fuck's a white flower?
Lilies are right.
Carnations,
Hydrangea.
gardenias, which usually the same smell.
Those
White
3.
Tulip.
Tulip.
The white
A
rose.
Tulip.
Maybe white rose, right? Like you're not.
I mean, it's
loving
rosy.
friends.
So it's
And wine.
And then, so then the other non-fruits, do we get any of character of oak, or do we get some Lee's character on here? Do you guys get any bread, biscuit?
I'm sure the first one smells even more like that now.
Yeah,
Go back
that's-
to it.
Let's go back to number
Yeah,
one.
it's
and
always
number
my
one.
favorite thing.
Yeah, that's way like sourdough kind
There you go. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That pear's still there though, even with all that fruit we had in number 2. Still got that pear. Almost got like a little funk now.
Yeah, yeah,
On the
too.
back.
Totally.
Like a little,
Yeah, definitely.
like a little soil, a little bit, right? Maybe.
Soil and patchouli.
And then you can go back to number 2 for us. So I think we have a pretty good grasp on those. I'm going to
I
say
can't keep
poached
those
pear is
flowers
great
out.
on number 1 with a little bit of that leaves. I'm going to say our honeydew melon on number 2 with a little fruitiness in the nose.
of. It smells like celery.
Yeah.
Vegetable? Yeah.
I was trying to get some vegetable where I know you like to say like parsley
Uh-huh.
and
I
herbs.
totally agree with that.
Alright, so let's go ahead and try, let's do number 1 first on the palette. So again, same thing, you're looking at body. Now in this case, now we're looking at bubbles. So it's an extra little thing. Are the bubbles small and soft and tight? Are they big old Dr. Pepper bubbles? And then of course we're going to look at acid and we're going to look at sweetness. What do you get on acid?
Not real high.
Not super high. We were thinking there was some acid in the nose, but it's not really.
No, I'm
Doesn't come
surprised.
Yeah, it was making our mouths water, but nothing crazy. There's some, but it's definitely, I would say it's like medium, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally agree.
Body, is it like thick and creamy? Is it nice and medium bodied? Is it kind of watery?
It's not watery.
Mhm.
It's not full.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
How are those bubbles? Are they soft all the time?
very.
Soft.
And then dryness, pretty dry.
With like a hint of sweet to me, you know. Maybe that's just what I've been eating. It's a solid thing. But now I'm good.
What about
Yeah, now I'm good. Still drinks like it drink. This one drinks like it smells to me.
How about that finish and complexity? Come back.
It's kind of quick.
But still, I get like a little back and throat finish. Still sits there. If I was eating something, this could definitely stand up to some food, right? This almost might be too strong with oysters, right? Yeah, oysters are briny, a little saltiness could work pretty well. But if you had this with like the Arctic char, I think that'd be wonderful, right? You could eat that and have, even with that red wine sauce, this would still be like nice and bright and keep you going back for more. I still have some finish. I mean, it's been a good 30 seconds. I still can taste it.
Mhm.
So I think that's a pretty positive thing. And it's good.
It tastes like exactly how we called it.
Exactly. But I always like to say it tastes what you
Yeah,
smell.
like a lot. It just tastes like apple or pear pie to me.
Yeah.
Is there a pear pie? People make pear pie?
Yeah.
They should.
Yeah, why not?
They should.
All right, let's hit number 2 and let's think of those 5 characteristics again. What's noticeably different? What's your first thought when you switch that around for a second.
Sweeter.
Sweeter, yeah, a little sweetness difference.
It's just like a little larger bubble to me.
Larger bubble, that's what I was looking for.
Uh-huh.
That kind of fills up your mouth a little quicker, doesn't it?
Yeah, big time.
And we said number 1 looked a little more lively in the glass. Number 2 got a little thicker bubble. So sweetness,
Feels like a lighter body.
a little lighter body.
More watery. Not watery, but thinner.
Yeah, and like I hate using that word watery
Yeah,
because
me
it makes
too.
the wine sound bad.
Exactly.
There's great light-bodied wines. Muscadet is very light. I love that wine. So yeah, definitely. I think number 2 is very, very true. I think it's much lighter. Bubbles are harsher. It's a lighter body. Are we tasting what we smelled? Any of that honeydew come through? Any of that lime, creamy lime coming through?
Yeah, I'd say
Key lime maybe.
both to a degree. Tastes a little bit more acidic to me.
I almost get yeah, it's a little more acidic. I get more.
Like, I'm talking like that much more,
Yeah.
but still.
I'm getting some bitterness too on that one.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Mhm.
Kind of like that
Yeah.
back of the tongue.
On top of the roof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Definitely.
like a little lemony bitterness.
Mm-hmm.
And then alcohol-wise, maybe one had a little bit more, maybe, but they're both.
Comparable.
You can go back and taste number 1 real quick, and we'll just kind of finish up.
This one tastes more floral.
Mhm.
Like we smell.
The bubbles are much smaller.
On one.
All right. So, what's the difference between these wines? We were talking traditional method, and we were talking tank method. Which one might be the tank method?
Say number 2.
2. That's right. This little harsher bubble. Not harsher. Of course.
Yep.
Number 1 smelled a little bit more like leaves, right? Maybe it was sitting in the bottle. So, yeah. So number 1 is Mum Napa. So a French-owned house in California. We have the Mum Cordon Rouge. We had the Mum Cordon Rouge, rather. So Mum in France, same company, but they're in California. We didn't get too much acid with this. Oh, that's funny. It's from California. Perfect, right? A little more ripe in California, a little hotter there. Champagne is very north in France. If you're making it in Carneros, whatever, Sonoma County, it's a little more warm there. So you're gonna get more fruit in the nose, less of that acidic bite. Number 2 then is Prosecco. So it's kind of our backup when we run out of the other Prosecco, but just a whatever brand, Lunetta. I'm sure it's a beautiful house there in northern Italy there. Tank method. Those grapes. Prosecco. Are Prosecco grapes? What are the grapes in Prosecco? I have that in mind. Brain fart.
What's Cavazzarella?
Yeah. We'll look that up.
Yeah,
I
please.
forget. So you definitely get a little more of a harsher thing. You get a little more key lime in there, some honeydew. This we were getting some golden pear. Blanc de Blanc, what did that mean?
White of white.
White. So it's the Chardonnay.
Racist
100%.
champagne.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all we drink now. Trump country. Yeah, so that's kind of different. If we had the Cava here too, the Cava is extra dry, so it is not extra brut, extra. There's a little bit of sweetness in that Cava, just a little bit more than these two. The bubbles would be kind of similar to the traditional champagne. The rosé we have, I'm sure it's Charmant too. It's not a AOC champagne. It's from Burgundy, it's just sparkling. I'm sure it's tank method. Same kind of bubbles as the Prosecco, a little more coarse. A little fruity too. Burgundy's a little lower than champagne, so you have some brightness in that rosé. And then those champagnes we have by the bottle, pretty similar to this one. Veuve Clicquot is all Pinot Noir. So Veuve Clicquot is a little more full body. That Goer is kind of like that too, and that Tom de Lombardy. I like full champagnes, full body champagnes.
That one is delicious.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're like, I think that one's at 50% Pinot Noir. Veuve Clicquot is like 90% or something like that. That's huge. And then that Moet Chandon is a lot of Chardonnay. So, there you go.
Cool. That was really helpful.
Nice.
Yeah, that was
So-
awesome. Thank you.
Yep, my pleasure as always. And then next week we'll do France. We won't do a tasting. We'll just do a France nap and that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
That's awesome.